figure out this mic situation here. This is the one I'm using, right? All right. It's a beautiful day. My heart is full. Even with all of the challenges, the bad news, the vitriol that we see on Twitter and amongst the airwaves, my heart is full and I am full of hope. Because of you. Because of you. It's heartbreaking to see how our country has become so divided. How we, the people, have become so torn apart. How the vision that the founders of this country had for us, where we, the people, have the power and the ability to elect a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people, has been so lost. How many of you here feel like this vision has been brought to fruit today? Instead, what we are seeing is this dark shadow caused by a corruption of spirit that is ruling our land, where we have self-serving politicians, people in positions of power, greedy corporations and special interests, who are all interested in acting for themselves, leaving the rest of us behind. We see the corruptive influence of this big special interest money in politics every day, as laws are written and policies are passed that don't serve the interests of the people, because the voices of the people are not being heard, they're not being represented. So we have instead a government today that is largely of, by, and for the powerful, leaving the rest of us behind. Instead today we have a government that is largely of, by, and for big money special interests, leaving the rest of us behind. What will it take to overcome these tough odds? What will it take to overcome these sometimes seemingly insurmountable challenges? We, the people, standing together, rising up and making sure that our voices are heard, standing united in this spirit of aloha, this spirit of care and love for each other, for our country, and for our future. When we stand united, we will overcome. We will overcome. There is no challenge too great, no mountain too high, no sea too turbulent, because there is nothing more powerful than when we stand together motivated by this spirit of aloha. There's a reason why I talk about aloha everywhere I go. Yes, I'm from Hawaii, very proudly, obviously. But it's because there is such a powerful meaning behind this word. There's a reason why we use it to greet each other, not just to say hello and goodbye, but the real meaning of aloha is I love you. I care about you. It's a recognition of our connectedness as brothers and sisters, that we are all children of God, regardless of our race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, where we come from, how much money we have in our pockets, what kind of education we have. Aloha inspires us to recognize our unity, to care for each other, and then to take action because of that care. What do we do when we care for someone? Take care of them. We protect them. That is the power that lies within our hands to bring about the great change that we need to see in this country right now. It is that power of the people that is so often underestimated and minimized by the self-serving politicians and greedy corporations in Washington. They think that they hold the power in their hands to determine our future. That's right. We need to take it back. It is when we stand together, motivated by this spirit of aloha and care for one another, that we can bring about real change to fix this broken and corrupt healthcare system. That allows corporations to make money off the backs of sick people in this country. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that we all spend far more on healthcare in this country than any other country in the world, lest we see worse outcomes. That's why I support Medicare for all, and that's how I know. That's how I know that when we people stand up saying, I will not allow a single one of my brothers and sisters to fall sick and not get the care they need. That is how we bring about this change. When we stand united in this spirit of aloha and care for one another, we can bring about real criminal justice reform. And this failed war on drugs, and the prohibition on marijuana. Caring for one another. It is when we stand united, caring for one another, and for our future, that we can address the homeless crisis that is inflicted on so many of our friends and neighbors. People all across this country, far too many people across this country, in my home state of Hawaii, here in California, in big cities and small communities, in urban communities and rural communities, are suffering and living without a roof over their heads. We recently had a hearing in the Financial Services Committee in Congress where a woman came and told her story. A story that I know represents the story of so many whose voices are not being heard. How she was living a middle-class life. She had a home and a great job and a family, and everything was going well. She could not imagine that being homeless would be something she would ever have to think about. She got very sick. Her savings were depleted. She went through a divorce and found herself on the streets. She didn't know where to go. She didn't know if there was a shelter in her community. And she shared that what she found when she got to the shelter, there were lawyers, entrepreneurs, teachers, people who we may not think are the ones who are dealing with this, who are suffering because of this crisis. This is not someone else's problem. We must stand together to address this crisis, to deal with the high cost of living, to deal with the fact that far too many people in this country are not earning a living wage, and that we have a huge affordable housing shortage in this country. We have to take action. When we stand united, we can make bold investments in green, sustainable infrastructure. Or in any community in this country, that no one is being poisoned by the water that is coming out of their taps. When we stand united, caring for one another and for our planet, we can take bold action to address this climate crisis that we are facing. To end these terrible fossil fuel subsidies, end our addiction on fossil fuels, and a crisis that faces us and our future. This is a crisis that faces our entire planet. And the only way to address that is when we work with leaders of other countries, when we work with people in other countries who have this shared interest, when we build those relationships that are based on cooperation and shared interests, rather than a foreign policy that we are seeing now that is based on conflict. This is the kind of change that we can and we will bring about. This is the kind of change that allows us to overcome those obstacles that too often are set before us. And there is an issue that is central to our ability to being able to carry out this vision. Unfortunately, it is one that is not talked about often enough. And that issue is the cost of war.
That's right.
I'm a soldier. I'm a major in the Army National Guard. I've been serving now for almost 15 years and was deployed twice to the Middle East. First time in 2005 in Iraq, in a medical unit, where every day I was confronted this high cost of war. Saw who pays the price. The high human cost of war. I want to take just a moment and ask our veterans and service members who are in the room here to please rise if you are able and allow us to recognize you for your service. The cost of war often fight hardest for peace. Those of us who know the cost of war will never forget our friends. Those who paid the ultimate price and never made that long trip home. We'll never forget those ceremonies that we held downrange to honor their lives. We'll never forget as we stood there and saluted their empty boots, their rifle and their empty helmet, remembering the time that we shared. Our veterans, our service members and their families pay a huge price. The people in the countries where we wage these wasteful regime change wars pay a huge price.
That's right.
These wasteful regime change wars undermine our national security. They strengthen terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The thing is that you may not realize this yourself, but every single one of us in this country pays the price for these wars. Every single one of us. For these wars with the trillions of dollars that are taken out of our pockets, that go towards paying for wasteful regime change wars, towards this new Cold War with heightening tensions between the United States and nuclear-armed countries like Russia and China, and the nuclear arms race that's been brought about with things like a decision President Trump made recently to withdraw from the historic INF Treaty that Reagan negotiated with Gorbachev almost 30 years ago, that drastically reduced the numbers of nuclear weapons in the world, drastically reduced the risk of nuclear catastrophe, yet here we find ourselves in a place today where we are at a greater risk of nuclear catastrophe now, today, than ever before in history. How can this be? Our leaders have failed us. Back in Hawaii, a little over a year ago, there was a major wake-up call about how real this threat is. When early, on a Saturday morning, not one unlike today, it's a beautiful day, when all of a sudden there was a text alert that was sent out from Hawaii's Civil Defense to cell phones all across the state that read, "Missile incoming." Seek shelter immediately. This is not a drill. Now we're here on a Saturday. It's still morning in Hawaii. Just imagine right now how you would feel. What would run through your mind if right now you got that message on your phone? Knowing you have just minutes to live. What do you do? Where do you go? Where are your loved ones? Where can you find safety? Where can you find shelter? It's terrifying. This is what was going through all of our minds when this happened in Hawaii just over a year ago. Families started piling all their kids in the car and driving towards the mountains to see if there was a cave that might give them shelter. There are no nuclear bunkers in Hawaii. We don't even have basements in Hawaii. We had a father who lowered his little 7-year-old girl down a manhole, thinking that might be the only place she would be safe. This is real. That alert turned out to be a false alarm, but we reacted in the way that we did because this threat is real. And it is not just real for the people of Hawaii. It is real for every single one of us in this country. And I don't tell you this to cast a dark cloud over you. I tell you this because we have to recognize how our leaders have failed us and to know that it doesn't have to be this way. It does not. Of change we need to see, to bring about the sea change in our foreign policy, to get our priorities straight. I'm running for president because I don't want a single one of you or your loved ones or your family or friends to have to go through what we went through in Hawaii. I don't want a single one of you to have to live with this threat hanging over your head. I'm running for president and asking you for the opportunity to serve you as your commander-in-chief, to bring about an end to these wasteful regime change wars, to work to end this new Cold War, to end this nuclear arms race that is making us less safe, because our future is at stake. By doing this, by bringing these trillions of dollars that are going towards these wars and these weapons, we will be able to invest this peace dividend into serving the needs of the people in our communities in this country. To be able to make the kind of change that we know we need to see. Now we know the forces who stand against us are great. We know that people who are benefiting from the status quo, the foreign policy establishment, the military-industrial complex, they don't want to see this change. But we know that when we stand united, we will overcome. We will overcome. We will bend the arc of history away from war and towards peace. We will change the course of our future to one where we have a government that is truly of by and for the people. We will change the course of history to one that fulfills these uniquely American ideals of service above self, putting people ahead of profits, people ahead of politics, putting the well-being of our people and our planet at the forefront of the decisions that we make in this country. We make real positive change. This is the change I seek to bring to the White House, to bring these values that are at the heart of every soldier, of every service member, the values of service above self, back to the White House. the principles of honor and integrity and respect back to the presidency, so that our White House becomes that beacon of light and hope and opportunity and justice and respect and equality for every single person in this country. Thank you so much. Thank you for standing up for this. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So Tulsi's going to take 3 questions. So if you have a question, we're going to have 2 gentlemen going down the sides with microphones in their hands. So, okay. So Jay, let's get this gentleman right here with the hat, right there. Let's get a question from him.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Is it okay, Congresswoman Gabbard, to call you Tulsi?
I prefer it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know.
He's taking the hat and glasses off now. It's getting serious.
It's a real honor.
Thank you.
Hawaii resident Michael Brandon Parker says he has known you since you were a child and he introduced you to the RSS, a violent paramilitary in India. Vijay Palat of Texas is a leader in RSS-affiliated groups in the USA, and he confirms that he met you through Michael Brandon Parker. In your first 2 terms in office, you also met the RSS spokesperson at least 3 times, and you spoke at many RSS events, including 2 in India. When did your collaboration with the RSS begin, and how much money have they given you?
I'm a soldier, and I took an oath, one oath, in my life. That was an oath to serve and protect this country, to put my life on the line for the people of this country. Thank you very much. We stand for aloha. We stand for diversity. We stand for peace and bringing people together around these shared ideals of freedom and opportunity for all people. Thank you everybody for standing with me in this movement for peace. It is this kind of attacks that are rooted in religious bigotry that we must stand together and condemn. Whether these attacks are being targeted at Hindus or Buddhists or Muslims or Jews or Christians or atheists or Catholics, we must stand united and condemn this hate and this bigotry, because an attack against one of us is an attack against all of us.
We have time for 2 more questions. Let's get a young lady right here in the front. Young lady, go ahead.
Thank you for being here. Sure. If you didn't hear the question in the back, the question was about the Iran nuclear deal. I was a member of Congress in the Foreign Affairs Committee. In the lead up towards that deal coming before Congress for a vote, I was pushing hard to make sure that deal was a strong one. In the interest of our country, we wanted to make sure that that deal was the best deal possible. So I asked a lot of tough questions. I raised a lot of tough concerns. When that deal was finalized and brought before the United States Congress, I supported it and voted for it, understanding that even though there were still some concerns that I had, the alternative to this deal was war, and that was not something I was willing to accept. I have been outspoken in the years since in denouncing President Trump's actions to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal, understanding how this action undermines our national security and our ability to make similar deals with countries like North Korea. Because if we are not willing to abide by the agreements that we have, why should other countries in the world who are seeking to denuclearize believe that we will hold these agreements, that we will keep them?
One more question?
Tan jacket.
Tan jacket.
We're going to try to take some pictures with you afterwards, so that's why we're going to try to keep this a little bit short.
Congresswoman, thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you.
I want to first commend you on your continued support of non-interventionist policy and tenacity amidst the whole Syria and Venezuela hysteria. That said, I'm 25 and I have a lot of student loans. On top of that, I paid so much for my bachelor's degree, yet I'm still severely underemployed. It seems to me that many decent paying jobs have gone disproportionately towards finance and tech. Meanwhile, educators like myself are being constantly sidelined in the job market as people are opting more and more to work in this lucrative field. So I have two questions for you. One, do you support free college and will you substantially reduce student loan debt? Two, how are you going to ensure a constant stream of quality teachers and other public servants in America?
You and teachers all across this country provide our students and our families and all of us every single day. No, it's not easy. I want to address a couple of points here as quickly as I can. My father-in-law is also a public high school teacher in Hawaii. He just turned 64 years old and he is still paying off his student loans from college. So this is a burden that is being carried by far too many people in this country across decades. It is something that we all have to seek to address. We have to seek to address it in a few ways. We have to try to deal with the high cost of education and make it so that whether it's the government or financial institutions, they are not making money off of educating our people. We have to see how we can leverage technology to be able to lower the cost of education and open up access to it, to make sure that people are able to get the kind of education that they choose, whether it be a 2-year or 4-year degree, or whether it be vocational training for people who want to enter the workforce right away. I co-sponsored the College for All bill. As we look at, you raise many different things. It's existing student loans. It's how do we attract and retain teachers. We've got to increase how much we are paying teachers in this country. Recognizing that you take so much out of your pocket to take care of kids every day. We've got to make sure that we have smaller class sizes so the kids are getting a quality education. We have to provide the investments and resources in our schools that shows we are serious about investing in our future. These are the kinds of things that I will invest in with this peace dividend that we will create by ending these wasteful regime change wars and this nuclear arms race so that we can invest in our future. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers for Tulsi Gabbard. We want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank everybody at the First Unitarian Church for making this space